Alrighty, folks, welcome on back. This Thursday, September 3rd, birthday edition of the afternoon meeting. Great to see everybody. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. I want to give a big thank you, of course, to Fausto for that heartfelt message earlier during his morning meeting. I want to give a big thank you to all of our students that wished me well. Happy birthday messages from all of you guys. Thank you so much. Dale, David, Jerry, Dennis, the D's there. Stefan, Patrick, Bonnie, great to see you guys. Norman, Lori, Jason, Tim, Kathleen, Chelsea, Jerry. Perfect. All right, so let's hop into it, folks. And with that in mind as well, should I say all of our folks joining us across social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, guys, welcome on back. So let's hop into it. We have the Dow breaking lower, or at least it was going into 230. Small little spike back up off that very low. I mean, it's still down 800 points going into this afternoon. I was saying to a lot of us here in the trading room just before, it looked like it was screaming for 28,000, and there's still a lot of time left to see that, final drop off heading into the end of this day. So, this would just be easy and lazy for me to say, but, we're going to look to follow the markets heading into this afternoon. We're going to follow the markets mainly. This KCAC stock that's on my screen here. This is certainly going against the grain, isn't it? So let's start with this. Then from there, we'll work our way through. And, if anything, we'll jump to some sideless stocks at the end that may be dropping off with the market. So we ended up seeing the news finally come out on this KCAC stock. When I say finally, I mean I finally just looked. I guess they post the news at 9:28 Eastern time. I will say, though, in pre-market trading, we had no news on this stock. KCAC, fairly new IPO. Obviously, prior to today, it was roughly around like a $9, $10 symbol. But we ended up seeing the news come out. I guess it makes sense. A smaller company, QuantumScape. They're going to be merged with KCAC, Kensington Capital Acquisition, to be listed across the New York Stock Exchange. So QuantumScape, I don't know what the company does. All I saw in the headline that I read on Benzinga, it's owned by Bill Gates, and I believe through Volkswagen as well. So I don't know if it's EV related or not, but we ended up seeing KCAC drop off quite a bit after the market opened up. Then it ended up making its rebound. So, for what it's worth, for a stock that's up 50, 70+%, we tend to see this frequently, where we have a stock pull back shortly after the market opens up. Actually, before that pullback, I will say it popped shortly before it ended up pulling back. And I got a pull back, pop, then pull back. The volume came in quick off the breakout from 1650. Then from there, we ended up seeing the selling, the profit taking. From there, this thing dumped off. So it ended up finding support, I guess, around the 15 level. Man, this thing's been pretty shaky, though, minute by minute. I said to one of our students, Pat, just before here in the chat board, this stock is one of those trades. And, again, it's easy for me to say this now with this picture painted, but this stock is one of those stocks that's better to just trade off its trend rather than trying to anticipate these clean level breakouts. You could just see over the last hour how shaky it was minute by minute, moving up to 17, pulling back to 1650. But even after that point, things became pretty crazy, shaking up and down, but building this beautiful trend off the lows, squeezing up towards the new high of the day, 1767. Deborah here in the chat board, and Jerry saying Volkswagen is their funds backer. And then Deborah, that's right. So she reminds me, I did see this part actually in the headline, a new battery technology. That's right. So thank you very much, Deborah and Jerry, for that. But yeah, KCAC, we're going to put this on our list right away going into the close. You'd figure for a stock that's near the highs, all-time highs going into the afternoon, it would be hard for me to not put this on our list. At the same time, though, just like I said before, this thing's pretty shaky up and down, pretty volatile stock. So it's riding this trend line exceptionally well. We know that not every stock trades perfectly in a straight line like this, up and down, or a straight trend line, so to say. At some point it's going to snap the trend, but hopefully as I say that, when it breaks this trend line, you got to make sure this thing begins to hold support shortly afterwards and then squeezes right back up. So 17 could be that level. It wouldn't be surprising to see this drop off a little bit more before it hopefully pops right back up there. But yeah, for right now, KCAC will definitely make our list near the top. Alrighty. Well, you know what? I'll tell you, we don't really have class this afternoon like we did yesterday. Yesterday, I tried to just jump right through the percent gainers and losers list. We'll see what to see what we have going into the afternoon. I want to jump to a stock right now. I mean, it's on the losers list. AKBA. One of our students, Dom, just called this out before. It was stock down 70+%. You would figure it would make for a great dead cat bounce. I mean, just to go into this, market open and what happened on this trade, it ended up running up pretty nicely at first, but the volume died off right away after. And when the volume dies off on a trade like this, well, not to say it's going to tank, but it's simply to say that it's just more often than not going to be worth it. There was a stock last week or a couple weeks back, UBX, that I'm on it right now. You could see this stock dropped off like 75+% this day back on the 17th of August. Never really made that squeeze up, did it? We were hopeful for it to at some point, but never ended up coming back. And oftentimes is the case with a pharma stock like this or a therapeutic stock. I mean, for right now, we're seeing this squeeze up a little bit. We ended up seeing a 4.5 million share transaction filled on time and sales at 270. So that big print led to a small chain of short covering after, and it still might happen to squeeze up a little bit more. But for me, what's most notable about this trade is that it's shortable, right? So if this doesn't continue to fly up, if this breaks over 3 and then maybe pulls back under it pretty quick, a false breakout, I'd say that could lead us to a nice short opportunity to see this pull back down to that 270. So for right now, the AKBA trade definitely looking pretty interesting still going into this close. All right, I wanted to jump to 1 or 2 more here, folks. Then from there, we'll do our traditional, just run through from top to bottom. I will say with the markets falling off, the inverse ETFs would be pretty hot right now at this point in the day. VXX, VIX ETF, holding near the highs as the Dow and the S&P are both dropping off still. So VXX, I'm going to put on our list right away. And then alongside that, I just want to point out pretty quickly, SQQQ. I'm sure we would have jumped to these on the gainers list as we ran through, but SQQQ, NASDAQ 100 inverse ETF. We'll put both of these on our list here as well going into the close. Got a comment here on YouTube from RJF. Welcome back, RJF. He's saying Voozy. That's right, Voozy. And I know Jerry inside our trading room here killed it on this stock earlier. It's his bread and butter. So Voozy right now is one of our best trades going into this afternoon, up 22.5% at this point. Hey, going against the grain, right? As the markets were dropping off from 12:30 Eastern time, we ended up seeing this huge breakout, this huge pop on Voozy. For right now, it's approaching that major resistance once again off of 5. Wouldn't surprise me if it ends up making a pop and drop here coming up, and then from there making the final breakout, leading it into the afternoon. For right now, let's see what happens, though. A lot of green coming in, or some green and yellow coming in over 5. For 20.5 million shares, roughly, we'd like to see a little bit more. So the news that came out on Voozy really quickly, guys, I was going to say really fast, but that's kind of a pun. So the news that came out on Voozy shares are trading higher amid a mention of the stock on CNBC's Fast Money halftime report, with CNBC trader Stephen Weiss saying that he bought the stock on Wednesday. So, hey, we ended up seeing a huge pop, obviously continuation here. We're getting a little shake back down to 5. Let's see if it could hold and make a new pop coming up. But for right now, Voozy looking just as great heading into this afternoon. So good call from RJF. And, again, we had our eyes on this inside the trading room just earlier. I'm sure I would have jumped to this anyway, just on the gainer side. Terrence here inside the trading room now, jumping back to the cyber group room here. Terrence is asking, FSM, is that worth watching? Let's take a look. Anything, oh, that's GSM. I wasn't looking at my keyboard there. My apologies. FSM. It's looking a lot better, Terrence, compared to my GSM that I typed in there. Yeah, FSM, it's not up a whole lot percent-wise, but it's just a tradable stock. I want to see, is this a fund or an ETF? It's a silver mining symbol. I haven't seen this before. My assumption is this is just an equity and not an ETF, but I could be wrong. I mean, for right now, though, it's squeezing up pretty nicely, Terrence. It's a really good call. I'll come back to it at the very end. I mean, this does pique my interest to take a look at some of the other metallic stocks. Here's an ETF, certainly, SLV. It's kind of squeezing back up a bit. Not really doing much, though. That FSM's looking good, Terrence. Look at gold mining ETF here, NUGT Nugget. This is making a sharper run up. So, we'll look at some gold mining stocks like Newmont, Ego, EGO, kind of making the same move. I'd say, though, that FSM is more active. That one's trading more volume. The liquidity checks out. So I'll come back to that at the very end, Terrence. At the least, what you'll get out of me here is that it's a very tradable stock. And if you ended up trading it earlier for about 5 or 10 cents, then, you should probably put it on your afternoon watch list yourself. I want to see if there's anything else looking perhaps a little bit more active in terms of percent change. And I mean, this is just as steady as we could find. So let's try and find something, just looking maybe a bit more volatile. That KCAC. Oh, okay, so that's the warrants first. I was going to jump back to KCAC. I thought that was the main symbol, though. Shield, SHLD. Is this Sears? I always used to get, no, SHLO. That's right. Okay, so I joke with you folks sometimes that I need a new glass prescription, need new contacts. Yeah, I'm not really joking that much. I thought that was SHLD, not SHLO. SHLO is a cheapie, moved up nicely after the open, dumped off. Not really too surprising, but I guess it's kind of interesting that it's shortable for a stock below $1. I'm not going to put this on our list for right now, though. Grant, our metallic expert, most notably our gold mining expert, he is saying that FSN or FSM is a stock, non-ETF. It's just a silver mining stock. All right, great. So that's good to know, Grant. Thank you. Makes me personally feel a bit more comfortable trading it. KCAC, like we were saying, it ended up actually slipping that trend line, but holding 17. Needs to make a new pop coming up pretty shortly, though. IGC, a stock from today that we did pretty well on. IGC we called out shortly after the market opened up, a little bit later on in the morning, rather. Low volume off the first breakout, but we called it out a bit later on going into 11 o'clock when it broke out from 130. Ended up running up pretty nicely at the time, but ended up, of course, coming back down. It's kind of holding support around that 150 level, but for the meantime, I'm going to pass. Ended up making a big squeeze up once already. I wouldn't expect for it to make a second big squeeze up after already pulling back. All right, what else do we have here? GTX. Cheapy. From last week, I think, right? Big drop off, ended up closing at the lows, opened up much lower, or opened up then dropped much lower. It's near the highs, so that part I definitely like. It's up 30%. How about this? I'll tell you what, guys. Yesterday inside the trading room, all of us here inside the trading room know this. I'm just mentioning this for any of us on social media. There was a stock GoGo. I couldn't have been more wrong about this trade. It was a different time of the day, but with this stock moving up as much as it did, it was like really flat. I said, I don't think it's going to make as big of a squeeze up. If anything, maybe a pop and then a pullback. Well, it popped up much higher than I thought it was going to begin. And then it pulled back, but then shot up like a cannon afterwards. Oh, man, I was wrong. Don't get me wrong, different time of the day here, but GTX, it looks like it's stalling. Don't let that fool you. For right now, I'll put this on our list. It'll be near the bottom. I like the VUSI trade a hell of a lot more. The KCAC trade still. But GTX, we'll give this some love. It is shortable too, so if it craps out the other way, then hey. VUSI on our list already. AGTC, all right. Let's quickly scroll down here. At least AGTC shortable, but not doing a whole lot. Volume died off a little bit. And TCON pump and dump. Didn't dump, all the way back down, but pretty sharp drop. Oh, that's right. Inverse ETF or inverse semiconductor ETF, SOXS. So when you see stocks like AMD, Micron, Intel, NVIDIA all drop off, notice the pattern. So XOSS is another inverse or ETF, bearish ETF rather, we'll call it, semiconductor. So this could be right on our list as well. I mean, I don't want to put every ETF under the sun on our list. UVXY up next. So obviously this is breaking higher right now. VXX, I would assume the same thing to happen. David A writing that in our chat board here. And with the market breaking down, I'll tell you, there's not as many stocks that are going against the grain running up. I still can't believe Macy's is up 8.5% still. ended up kind of dying off around 10:30 Eastern time, as do most stocks after they make a big solid run up. But this went completely against the grain early on, and as the markets kind of flattened out and dropped off lower, Macy's held on, and then at least for the meantime here, it's beginning to slump off. If Macy's was shortable, I would say absolutely look to go for it. But for right now, I think for right now, I'll pass. All righty. Let's see if there's anything else on the loser's side. Probably a lot more. I would assume here at least this afternoon meeting. AKBA. I just want to take a look. Looks like super flat. David said you can borrow shares from TradeStation for Macy's, so hard to borrow, but not impossible to borrow. David, I appreciate you checking. So maybe we do put Macy's on at the end. I'll just put it on the back burner for right now. AKBA we went over already. That one's on our list for the meantime, and more so just based on the huge 4.5 million share print. ZUO, I think this was earnings related as well today. We ended up seeing them make a huge run. It was like a pump and dump yesterday, and then a complete dump off after the market closed and leading into this morning. So, man, I mean, just given the range that this stock has over the last week, all the way up, then just freaking all the way down in one shot. Definitely a good stock to keep on your radar. Probably tomorrow, next week. Keep in mind, folks, by the way, Labor Day is Monday the 7th, so the markets are closed. So we're going to be after tomorrow. That is, next trading day will be Tuesday the 8th. All right, so hey, maybe Friday, maybe Tuesday of next week, and so forth. We'll keep this ZUO in mind. It's like the same thing as CORT, CORT, which we'll probably get to just at the end as well here. CIEN, another stock that dumped off earlier on today. I mean, in the after hours last night, pre-market this morning. For what it's worth, ended up making a pretty solid bounce off the low, 43.50 all the way up towards just about 47. DPI, not a whole lot going on there. Take a look at Momo. Momo is on my earnings calendar going into this market open, ended up diving off over 15%, still near the lows right now. So I really like this trade. It's one that a lot of us are familiar with inside our trading room. So I was going to jump to this either way, but looking pretty interesting, right? At the lows of the day right now, you got a 26,000 share order on the bid at 1680. Looks like it's about to get blown through in just 2 seconds. It's kind of slowing down in terms of volume traded up until right now. Are we going to get another iceberg break here, guys? What is this, the third meeting in a row? We're going to see a huge iceberg order break. Yesterday was SDC. We just saw that at 10. The day before, we ended up seeing a nice pop and drop. I'll tell you, the second I turn away from this, just like yesterday, it's going to break. All right, so for right now, 27,000 shares on the bid at 1680. You also got a 15,000 share order on the bid at 1675. So, that would be a complimentary support too. AAOI, pretty flat. Michaels, another company or another stock that was on my earnings calendar for this morning. Just because they're on the earnings calendar doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to trade it, because, you'll have mornings like today where KCAC comes out and all of a sudden your focus is on that one. So, MIK seems like it would have been a really nice short opportunity, especially dropping off at the market this morning. Definitely a good stock to keep on the side, going forward for tomorrow, for next week. And I think the last one on my earnings calendar for today was Cloudera, and this one's looking pretty good on the way down right now. So, yeah, Momo and the CLDR stock here, I'm going to put on our list. Speaking of Momo, still at 1682. Terrence says FSM is like watching paint dry. It's not your fault, Terrence. It's a good call just from the naked eye. I mean, beautiful trend. It was moving up pretty sharply at the time that you had called it out. Right, so we'll keep it. We'll keep this one on the side. If we happen to see this make a new high today, I'm sure I'll catch it on my Benzinga Pro. AVGO from Jerry. That's near the lows of the day, pretty expensive, but if you tend to focus on the more expensive stocks, then that could be a decent one to keep an eye on too. All right, got RJF on YouTube here, one of our streamers, picking up 12 cents on Vuzi with us live. He was in from 494. Well, I'll tell you, RJF, if anything, excellent exit. 5 you have to respect as a major resistance. So, to get out right where you did, pretty much near the high of the day, that's a nice job getting out in time. Obviously, from this point, looks like a false breakout or at least a lack of momentum over 5. So hopefully one more push later on today will do. And then from Daniel on YouTube also, I just saw this right now. Daniel, thank you so much. He says, I love IGC and the SHLO. Well, I love them. Past tense. I still might like IGC. We'll see. I just figure for a stock that made this big of a move up, across the day, and for it to pull back as it did, I wouldn't expect for it to make a second big move up. And if you did well in the SHLO, then congrats. I mean, it seemed like a really nice pop. I didn't catch this personally myself, so would have been a really nice cheapie to load up on. Got a few of us saying GTX pop. There we go. All right, don't sleep on the stock that looks like it's sleeping. The GTX finally, the breakout over 350 once more. There we go, folks. Great call from Jeff and Mario. Welcome back, Mario, inside the trading room. All right, from Dom then saying VIPs, VIPS worth watching, and that I think will do. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not put this on our list. It's up 4+%, 12 million shares traded just about. I don't know what the news was on VIPs here. It is a familiar name to myself, so I want to take a quick look on Benzinga Pro, what the news is on this trade. So news out at 9 o'clock, JP Morgan downgraded the stock from overweight to neutral and lowered its price target from 25 to 20. I don't really think traders care too much about that news headline there. Or if anything, maybe they're just buying the fact that it could run higher up to 20 at this point. So I guess nice reaction from VIPs going into this afternoon. So definitely we'll put this on for right now, Dom. Alrighty, cool. I think we're good, folks. I think we're good. So in total, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 different symbols at least. Aside from that, typically around 3:15, 3:30, we'll look to rescan the market a bit more seriously, see if there's anything else aside from that point. Alrighty, and I forgot to put up the banner on the live stream there, folks. So for anybody tuning in on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, if you guys would like to learn more about Cyber Trading University, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, notify yourself right on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cybertradingu. Otherwise, feel more than free to join us heading into this market close, birthday edition at least. So hopefully some good luck going into this afternoon. Alrighty, shout out Robin and Henry while I'm at it as well, who I believe are tuning in right now. So thank you guys very much. Aside from that, guys, I look forward to working with all of us here inside our trading room going into the end of this day. Let's try and close out this Thursday afternoon just as well as we had opened it up. Take care.